Hello, everybody. Welcome to my weekly Meltdown's coverage of Big Brother 23. We are here to talk about everything, including the coin of destiny. And because there is just so many layers of twists and turns this week, I figured why not bring in some of my weekly Meltdown's favorite voices here. So, of course, with us as always is Beth. How are you doing, Beth?
Doing pretty well. I've been a little anxious the past couple of days, so I wanted to spend the evening with people who make me feel empowered and great. And so I'm really excited to have some time to chat with not only you, Tyler, but obviously some of our best patron supporters, our mods, our just amazing recurring chatters in the chat people who are great. Excellent. So we have a great panel for it.
Yes. And then with us also is our wonderful chat mod, Matt Henning. How are you doing, Matt?
I'm doing that's how my day has been. I'll knock my glasses off.
Matt, I felt that on such a personal level of like, that is just like an epitome of like, I just feel you.
We've been there.
Today was my parents' 40th wedding anniversary. That went off.
Happy anniversary!
Aww. Congratulations!
Yes, and so also with us is the wonderful patron and also Twitch streamer extraordinaire, Pokemon Master, if you will, Brandon. How are you doing, Brandon?
Pokemon Master might be a little much there, but okay.
Listen, I'm still waiting to talk Pokemon with you someday on your show. So
yes,
listen, you beat me as a gym leader, so.
Oh, that is true. But yeah, I'm doing great. Was a little tired today, but a little better after I celebrated my mom's birthday today. So
what a day!
So many things to celebrate here.
Happy birthday, Brandon's mom.
Joining us for I think the first time on air with us, Adrian. How are you doing, Adrian?
I am doing really good. I'm so excited to be with you guys to talk about this week of Big Brother. And I hope I don't throw any of you guys under the bus to not end up in the ICU this week. So it looks fun.
I know, jeez.
Oh my goodness. Hopefully our lives are spared tonight. But and to round out the My Weekly Meltdown cookout, if you will, with 6 people here today, is Heather. How are you doing, Heather?
I'm great, Tyler. Thank you for asking me. I was glad I'm finally able to join. So yes, this is my first panel. I'm in Texas. Been watching Big Brother since season 1. I'm 46. Oh, wow. I know I don't look like it.
You're 46?
I'm 46.
But seriously, I wouldn't have.
So it's funny when I chat. I'm on Twitter. People are like, "Wow, you were like know a lot," but I didn't really get into the feeds till maybe like after OTT. I didn't even have a Twitter account until 5 years ago, and then I now my whole Twitter is Big Brother. And as Tyler knows, I got my first message today calling me a racist because apparently I'm not a fan of the cookout. I'm like, have you looked at my profile? But and they're like, but you're from Texas. Of course you don't like black people. I'm like,
whoa.
Okay, report and block. Thank you, Twitter. So
Big Brother Twitter strikes again.
I know, for real. Beth had some run-ins with BB Twitter earlier this season, so I feel like all of us are kind of like...
It's not even that I had run-ins as much as I just like... I've gotten to the point where like BB Twitter is ruining what is such a good season. Like... People are jumping on a bandwagon of like hating on other people. But like the point is like anybody who was problematic is gone for the exception of Derek F. And like, even with him, like there's I just kind of generally feel like people just like who you want to like and like leave everybody else alone. Why are we like attacking each other? So literally BB Twitter has made it so that I have literally blocked and muted the hashtag BB23. It no longer shows up because I am going to watch the rest of the season basically as a casual. I know that it's not the quote unquote true way to cover Big Brother, but honestly, BB Twitter has kind of ruined it for me, so I'm just gonna watch it as casual from here on out.
And that's why I'm here, Beth, is to like fill in the gaps of like the live feed stuff, because I have some notes about some discrepancies between like especially the one-on-one combos that Tiffany had with some of the house guests, Hannah in particular. There was like one thing that let's just get into it. So Tiffany, like, she had like lots of great like one-on-ones with all of the house guests, and I really noted like the body language difference between like her with like, say, like her with Hannah in particular compared to like her with Sarah Beth. So like she was like super close with Hannah, like looking her in the eyes, like building her up. Like you could tell like things are just like super genuine there. Whereas like compared to like Sarah Beth, she's like leaning back and she has like her like leg in front of her. Like you can tell so much with like how you feel like with somebody with body language. And yeah, I just it's like the writing's on the wall. Like you could just like mute those conversations and still have like a good feeling about where Tiffany's head is with everybody. And
well, I want to just interrupt you right there.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Let's rewind time a little.
Sorry, I just have so much to get into.
You have so much to get into, but before, even though it seems like we have so many wonderful people from the chat here, we do have to say hello to the other people who are in our chat right now, because we have some wonderful regulars joining us again today. We have Caitlin Weaver, Sam Higdon, Heather, of course, who's with us right here. We have B Bean, we have Joseph Boza, Dolores L, Stephen Holden. I'm just going through. If I'm missing you, I'm sorry, shout it out. But thank you all so much for being here as usual. And if you are watching but not commenting, that is completely fine too. Lurk and watch. Thank you so much for supporting the show. Welcome on in, everybody. And if you have questions for anybody in the panel, be sure to put them in the chat so that they can react to them as well.
Also, before Tyler goes off, just as an FYI to chat, I will not be paying full attention to the chat. So if you swear or say explicit things in your comments, I might not get to put it up in time. So watch your words.
Keeping an eye on the chat too. So, but yeah, everybody be on their best behavior tonight.
If y'all see me looking down, I have my laptop down here, so I'm trying to keep a
no worries. You're
good.
So,
and I have my third monitor.
There you go, Brent.
All of us came so prepared.
I have the chat like right here at the corner of my eye.
I love it.
Yes.
I love it.
So Heather, since you showed us like a little preview of your notes, I want to hear. We'll go to like Adrian and Matt and Brent, of course too. But Heather, I want to hear your thoughts on the season so far. Give me the give me the tea. Give me like all of your thoughts on Big Brother 23.
Well, contrary to popular, I am so pro cookout, but I've watched this game a long time, and the thing about Big Brother is that you have to strike before they strike you. And I'm seeing this window closing because I want a woman of color to win this season so bad. Yeah. And as Christian, I agree, despite Queen Janelle, I'm so sorry, I disagree. I think Christian needed to go. Even though he was able to be manipulated by Tiffany, I think that I don't think she could control him as the shield she really needed, as long as he was, into Alyssa. So I think he needed to go, but not fighting harder for Derek X, I think was a big mistake, because he was absolutely diehard loyal. And I think where the hate has come on recently is because I've been setting the record straight on, I love Hannah Chaddha. I love her. But she laid the groundwork, man. Someone came back and said, "Oh, but look, she once told him to play the roulette." And I'm like, 2 weeks ago, she was like, "He's got to go," because she saw that she was getting more connected to him. So this whole like thing of, and I'm glad they showed the scene of her breaking down, but that was guilt. Yeah, that absolutely was guilt, because she set the stage for Derek X to leave. Then they had buyer's remorse after he was already on the train tracks, and they were like, let's try to take this back to save him. And at that point, it was too late. So despite Tiffany is the queen, I don't care if she wins or not. I at this point, I'm a Pisces, and I hate putting stuff out there in the universe, but she's got a very hard road to win at this point, unfortunately. And I think, I know, I'm sorry to break hearts, but if they don't strike at Xavier while he is on the block, because they may not get this chance again, because these women, those 4 championing in the bedroom, that's the votes. Even with Claire as the invisible HOH, she could break the tie, and she wants Xavier gone. So, and not to get into too many spoilers, but I feel like they've been handed the silver platter. Everybody's talking about Xavier's going to win. And he's sitting there, and it's like, but we're loyal to the cookout. So for some reason, the women are more loyal to the cookout than the men. And they are going, the other thing about Chaddha, I love her. But you guys may not be aware, because she's never watched feeds. She's 21 years old. She's the age of the show. And she went back and watched rewatch of seasons.
That's great.
And she's commented how she watched like the YouTube, like watch an entire season in 6 hours or whatever. So she misses the nuance of the social interactions. So a lot of the information she spouts, and they're like, "Oh yeah, Hannah knows," and it's lies. She does not know what she's talking about. She's telling them things that aren't true, and they're believing it. And so it's like, I'll give you a perfect example, and then I'll shut up. But she keeps telling them that towards the end of the season, it's more mental comps. That is absolutely not true. It's not that way anymore. Modern Big Brother. Cody
last year.
It's physical comps at the end. And so these women, they can be smart as anything, but if they don't have the endurance and the physical ability, I think Kai's going to be first to go. I really do. But then I think it's going to be Tiffany, and that really makes me sad. And I love Azah, but I want somebody who was the mastermind, the architect to win this season. And I want it to be a woman of color, but I see that window closing if they don't strike it at Xavier while they have the shot.
I'm still stuck on the fact that Hannah is the same age as this show.
I know.
That's crazy.
I could be her mom.
Isn't she slightly younger than the show?
She probably is.
I'm 23.
No, she's 21, and they keep saying, well, she's the same age as Ian Terry. And I'm like, but the game was different even then.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you remember when Ian won the key? That's how he made it through, was the key. Well, now it's, if you remember Nicole A., with Holly Allen, she's crawling up, trying to drag to put the stuff in order. And she just didn't have the physical ability to win or even to get it to final 2. So Hannah right now, in my opinion, is playing for second, because she has a final 2 with Tiffany. She has a final 2 with Xavier. And maybe she's happy with that, because second place we found out was $75,000 now. But it's like, if you're going to go for it, go for it. And these they could use Claire right now to get out Xavier. They could use, even if it was a tie, Claire would have the vote. So Azah, Tiffany, and Chaddha are the 3 votes to send him out right now. And if for some reason Azah's like, I can't do it, they have Claire as the tie breaker. I feel like if they don't strike, it's a fatal mistake.
I have so many thoughts. I want to hear what Adrian's thoughts are on what Heather just said. Like, Adrian, do you think that the window of opportunity is closing for the women of the cookout in particular?
A little bit. I think it's a little bit closing right now if they don't get Xavier out right now. But Hannah is trying to basically choose between either Tiffany or Xavier to go with. And I hope she chooses Tiffany, because that's honestly her best final 2 option, in my opinion. If somehow she gets to final 2 with Xavier, she needs to present an amazing case over Xavier, because guess what Xavier does as a living? A lawyer. Know what lawyers do? They present their case, present their side, and try to beat the other side to have a better case than them. So Hannah has a long shot to beat Xavier in the jury vote.
I think that's a really good point.
Do you think Xavier, do you think that Xavier is the one to beat at the end? And if you disagree with that, who do you think is that one to look out for in the end of this game? No,
I definitely agree. If Tyler, bring up your tweet, because you kind of got that going with that prediction right there. That this seems like the order that should be happening at this moment. If they don't take a shot at Xavier, because I truly think that at this point in the game, yes, I am all for the sentiment of all the cookout being in the final 6. However, this is a good shot to try to get Xavier because third nom, and of course we're about to get into spoilers with what just happened with the veto. Like we could see like what could happen here right now. Like if they don't take a shot at Xavier, but I get what the cookout is trying to get all of them at final 6. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah. So Henning, I know that you love to disagree with like literally anything I ever said. So with that tweet that I put out last week about like the boot order for the rest of the season, I have Tiffany being the first one out of the cookout. Now Heather said she thinks Kyland's going to be the first one out of the cookout. What do you think, Matt?
Honestly, I think it's going to be Tiffany, and here's why. I think she is showing she's too smart, and honestly, usually the first person in an alliance to go, if they're not the person controlling the alliance, which I don't think Tiffany is, I think Xavier is probably more in control of that alliance than she is, he will see her as the most strategic threat and he will get rid of her. So I think everyone's making a mistake by, like, I don't like giant alliances to begin with. I haven't liked them since the first season of Survivor, where we pagonged our way to the finale. And I think Tiffany and Hannah and Azah are putting blinders on, and they're not realizing when you get to 6, the power is not going to shift into your hands the way you're playing this game. Mm-hmm. And I just don't see Tiffany winning the kind of comps that are sitting at 6, 5, 4, and 3. They're just not built. They're traditionally not built for her.
Oh.
Yeah,
go for it, Adrian.
Okay, so if this triple eviction rumor, oh dear God, if it's true, that means usually double and triple evictions, HOHs usually are like mental comps. So Tiffany just won a mental comp like for her HOH. So if she somehow can luckily win, her or Hannah win that mental HOH, they could possibly get through that crack of getting one of the guys out. So, but that veto is usually either luck or like a puzzle or something. So I don't know how that's going to work out. If that triple eviction rumor is true, oh my gosh, I'm legit nervous for Tiffany and Han right now. Even though this is the best week for them, in my opinion, I'm legit worried for them.
I wouldn't be nervous for Hannah because I think Hannah is in the best place in the game. Because there are way
but she's playing for second.
For sure.
She's not playing to win.
I don't know if she's playing for second or not, because if she wins the final HOH and makes the decision who she's taking, I think she can win the game. Like if she's given that power control spot.
Wait, you said Azah?
No,
Hannah.
No, Hannah.
I don't know about that.
Azah would need to win final 6 HOH, final 5 veto, final 4 HOH, final 4 veto, and final 3 HOH to find a way to win this game. And it's just not happening.
It's not happening. Thank you, Matt.
So Azah would be playing for second at best, unless she takes, if it's an Azah Derek F final 2, I don't know who.
Oh, God.
Oh, my God.
Well, actually,
I think Azah would win in that situation.
Speaking of that, Joseph Boza in the chat did ask, in a normal season, would Azah and Daybed not be in the running still to win
something quick?
Yeah.
I'm going to say something quick. People calling Derek F. Daybed, like, I understand they think he's sleeping through this game, but that comes off as really fat phobic.
Okay.
Like, there have been people you've called furniture because they've been passive, but, like, Daybeds are big. And I find that just, like, highly uncomfortable because I don't think he would say that. I don't think
for me, it's not a size thing. It's the fact that he made the couch his actual bed because he didn't want to sleep on the twin bed. And now that Brittany's left, he's sleeping on the twin bed. So I was like, well, why didn't you sleep in the twin bed to begin with?
Who knows?
But that is a good point.
Some people will pick things, especially if they dislike him, which the non-casual crowd does not seem to be a fan of him for very good reasons.
Yeah.
Whereas the casual America seems to be. Did Allison take over the My Weekly Meltdown line? Because I know that wasn't from Tyler.
Do not sleep on Derek F. in the chat.
I was
Allison.
about to say,
That's
it was like that
freaking
popped up
Allison.
during my rant, and I was like, that's not
I
Tyler.
I
That's
said at the
Allison.
very beginning of the season that he would not win one thing. And even today, I thought, oh my God, he's playing. Because I didn't know for sure he played the Coin of Destiny. And I'm like, oh, but he got one.
But I mean,
So I'm like,
for a second, it looked like he would win with one.
Yeah, I was just like, wait.
I
this
think they
I
got
would
his
be,
first.
I would be so floored by that. I would be.
Like
Well,
I
and
would have loved if Claire and Derek F had tied at 1, and they said the winning score was 1, and they're both kind of like looking at each other like, who actually won
What do we do?
this?
I would think that like in that case, so say like they tie and it's only 2 people competing in it, I would assume that instead of flipping for yes it gets activated or no it doesn't, I would assume that like Claire gets heads, Derek gets tails.
I'm assuming it would
No,
have come down
I think
to
it was
the fastest time of who got their
Yes.
first
Oh,
point.
yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
yeah.
That's
That's
just
what I
like that's me like putting my producer hat on and saying like, how can we like make sure this thing gets played?
Because then it's absolutely that Tiffany gets dethroned, which is not what the
That's true.
challenge would have been.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
But I do think that I think with going back to this idea of like who in the cookout is going to be first, and is Hannah playing for first or second? I think these are really good questions, but
Yeah.
I think that people like Allison will continue to say, don't sleep on Derek F. Like at what point are people going to realize, like if you're Hannah or if you're Xavier, that you want to bring those 2 with you to the final 2 and 3? Like you don't want to get rid of them first. You want to get rid of Hannah and Tiffany if you're Xavier, and if you're Tiffany and Hannah, you want to keep them around and work on getting Kyland and Xavier out, because they're really the 2 that have no agency and power in this game. Derek F thinks he does, but he doesn't. And Azah just like it. Honestly, I don't know from day to day where her head's at. So, what are your thoughts? Let's go to Brandon because he hasn't spoken in a little bit. Brandon, what do you think about Azah and Derek F? Are people sleeping on them in the house here, or are people not using them the way that they potentially could? What are your thoughts?
So what I've been seeing on BB Twitter, since you have BB23 blocked,
I sure do. Yes.
everyone's like ranging their support for Azah right now, than Derek F. Because with how Azah is playing, like yes, like in the beginning she was playing very emotional. I think she still kind of is in a sense, but I think she's slowly starting to like kind of like quote unquote wake up in a sense, just because like we're at a point in the season where they're starting to have to get at each other, and I think Azah is going to start doing that like at a right moment. Derek F, on the other hand, of course, what we've been seeing like with last week's veto, which I was just like, we know what you were doing with that. Like you're sitting pretty, like you're sitting pretty right now, and with Derek F at this point, of course, being able to have enough money with the current high rollers comp, I was just like, okay, you have the money, just might as well play, but you have to play that smart though, because if you're quote unquote throwing yet you got 1 point, like that could like mean a difference right over there. And I was just like, if you're throwing this, you shouldn't have played at all.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Like, and we saw it from Hannah tonight, and I kind of want to transition that into talking about like veto spoilers because that involves Hannah as well. But like, I loved how it showed tonight. Like, she really came up with a plan. Like, Tiffany, let's dethrone your HOH. Let's pump up Claire so that she wins this. And we'll like get into this too. But I had in my notes that Claire winning the Coin of Destiny and keeping noms the same, even when this power is anonymous and she is not in the cookout, just proves to me that the cookout is one of the best alliances of all time. Like, somebody not in the cookout had the power to change the nominees anonymously. So like, I've said on this show for weeks now, I think that Claire knows about the cookout. I feel like I'm starting to like retract that statement because this would have been like the opportune time to do so. But okay, so transitioning into spoilers. So if you are not a spoiler person, sorry.
I'm just kidding.
Here's your warning. But the Power of Veto winner is Hannah. So Hannah has won her first competition, and we are all girls this week. They are cleaning up these comps.
Yep.
And Tiffany has done a really great job. Like I watched on the feed, she said to Hannah, she was like, remember how this feels? Like, we can win these comps, like we can do this, and like really trying to like instill like confidence in her like all week long. But so Hannah right now is currently like deciding between like, do I use the power veto on Xavier because Sarah Beth is going to go anyway, so why not use this power to kind of get in some like good favor with him? Heather, I want to hear your thoughts on like, should Hannah do that, and why is that the case?
Well, to take a step back with Claire, I mean that she, of course, she doesn't know about the cookout. She thinks Tiffany is her final two, so her goal is to protect her final two's nominations. And the fact she's been going for Xavier for, he's been on her radar for 3 weeks, and he's already going to be a nomination. So in Claire's mind, she's thinking he's on the block. Even Claire's like, we need to strike, because of course she doesn't know about the cookout. So, of course, Sarah Beth and Kyland had a whole meltdown. Sarah Beth was like, oh my God, we're still hated. We're the same two nominees. But there was a point made of it wasn't because of you, it was to keep it hidden, but they all know it's Claire now. And today there's been discussion of using it on, Kyland wants it used on him because he doesn't want to, he's thinking resume. We can't forget that Kyland went and won the HOH that he shouldn't have, which would have been Azah's comp because she's very musical. The Name That Croon HOH. And Kyland went against the cookout to protect Sarah Beth. And so now he knows he has to fall in line or he's going to be in real trouble. So that's why he's kind of throwing her under the bus as far as, needs to go. But at the same time, he wants to not be there on Thursday night. He wants the veto used on him for his resume. That's not going to happen. Chaddha's going to use it on X. She's told him she's going to use it on X. Tiffany knows that that's good for Chaddha's resume, which I think Tiffany originally was like, just leave him up there because it doesn't show our cards. But now she's kind of agreed to pulling X down. I don't quite know how Clara feels about that. She seemed to be okay with it, but she also is like, we need to take a strike at X. They're just not listening to her. And of course, Xavier's just playing it cool as a cucumber. And he was like, yeah, whatever you want to do, and he has, I don't know if it's the sexual chocolate. I don't know if it's Lucius. I don't know what is going on, but these women are blinded by Xavier. But they're smart in that they're starting to plant the seeds. They're expecting a civil war to go between Kyland and Xavier. The women are now wanting Kyland and Xavier to butt heads and go against each other. And I think their goal is to slide in, in the underneath that and let them take each other out. So I'm 99% sure she's going to use it on Xavier. She also wants to get some favor with Alyssa. Why, I don't know, because Alyssa doesn't really think of Hannah much anyway, but expect that to happen this week.
Yeah, Adrian, what do you think about this move from Chaddha?
For like either taking Kyland or Xavier off the block.
Yeah.
To me, SB's going home either way. So like, what the heck? I'm so proud of Hannah finally winning her first competition. I even tweeted this out that Hannah is the 4th Black woman to win a power veto in the history of regular BBUS, which is like honestly insane that like 4 Black women have won a power veto in the history of Big Brother. It's like,
can I try to name them real quick?
Yes.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay.
Yeah, go.
So Chaddha, of course.
One should be really easy. One should be really, really easy, Tyler.
It was a little bitty one.
Davon. Yeah, that's right. Literally the only highlight of last season. I feel like Jamaica won a random veto in Big Brother 8.
It's the Art Museum one. It's the Art Museum one.
Yes. That's right. That's right. And then it's got to be either Kalia or Danielle Reyes. I feel like Kalia only won HOH, so maybe Danielle Reyes in All Stars.
It's BB3 Danielle Reyes. What's the one you
Oh.
got to open the box to unveil the power veto? Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I get half a point there.
Yeah.
Well, Hannah's also the second the youngest woman because she's tied with Ian Terry as being the youngest.
Yeah.
And I love that all of this is basically just like fueled by like Sarah Beth. You shouldn't have taken out Derek X, and we are all gonna come for you. We're gonna win these comps and just make sure that you go home. I love like all like the female like power this week, and I really hope it stays. Brandon, do you think that we're kind of starting like a new era for this season, or are we maybe I'm just like being like too hopeful, but I would love for this to be like the rest of the season.
Well, okay, this season has given me my hopes up. Obviously, I've already tweeted about it, that saying that BB23 is officially the best season because of this week, officially, because of Tiffany, Claire, and Hannah with all the power. I'm just like, give this to me. We've been starving for this for 22 seasons. Give it to us finally.
Mm-hmm. For real.
The power of DX's angels right there. The power of DX's angels.
That's right.
Revenge for Derek X. Revenge.
And so with that being said, like I feel like I'm trying to like look back at like the history books of like I feel like Sarah Beth's HOH is probably one of the worst HOHs of all time in Big Brother. Like we talk about Fessy having a bad HOH. We talk about Bailey having some HOH-itis in her first season as well. Brandon, do you think that like Sarah Beth's HOH is like one of, if not the worst that we've
one of the worst. Of course, we have to go back to the beginning of this season.
Yeah.
That is a very good.
Do we have to? I'm still like in trauma from Frenchie.
Tyler.
Yeah.
Tyler. Did Sarah win an HOH? Didn't Kyland win HOH last week?
Yeah, really.
Yeah, so Kyland is the first person in Big Brother history to win HOH 2 weeks in a row. Yeah, that's and I like
basically.
It's crazy that like so what's wild to me, and I've said this on the show like a bunch of times, that like I feel like Sarah Beth is going to be like the most bitter juror out of like the non-cookout members, right? Because I feel like it's one thing for like Tiffany to like be like stringing Claire along as like an extra, like a +1, and then like getting rid of her just on like a friendship level. But I feel like Kyland and Sarah Beth share this like really super intimate connection that's like borderline, I don't know. But like even this week when like Sarah Beth is going home and like she knows it too, right? Like he's like he hasn't changed his tone at all, and I'm very curious if he's going to, and I want to hear like Matt's thoughts on this, because we saw in the goodbye messages for Derek X that like Kyland kind of hinted at the cookout. He said there's a big power alliance from day one that is still in the house. He didn't name names or anything, but it like really got Derek X thinking. Matt, do you feel like Kyland's going to reveal this to Sarah Beth of all people in her goodbye message?
Yeah. If he wants Sarah Beth to focus, he needs to be the one to tell her, because if he's in final 2, he needs to like explain, to have it like pre-explained that this happened because this giant alliance wanted her out and he was outvoted. And like,
do you think that he doesn't get her jury vote if he?
I think if he doesn't tell her in a goodbye message, like saying, "Hey, this is what happened," then no, I don't think he'll get her jury vote. I think he will lose it if it gets exposed at the finale, which it will.
It makes me think a lot about one of the main reasons why Paul lost BB19 to Josh was because Josh really utilized the goodbye messages. Mm-hmm. Adrian, do you think that goodbye messages are underutilized with a lot of people, especially in the jury phase?
Especially for jury management and stuff, I feel like goodbye messages are honestly important for like the jury to see like how genuine you are. If you are actually playing the game behind the scenes, though, that's why Josh won BB19, because he finally exposed the alliance that Paul was building, so he can finally get the jury votes that he needed. And I feel like that's why Tyler lost BB20, because he didn't expose it to like some of the like the Hive members, the Foul team members. Casey won because it was jury management. That's why she won over Tyler and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I have a hot take on that.
Please.
It's
Okay.
because they cut Tyler's ability to plead his case down to 2 minutes in order to give Swaggy time to propose. And had Swaggy not proposed, Tyler would have been able to have enough time
Tyler would have
to
won.
given all of his behind the scenes steps. And I truly believe he would have won if that was the case.
All
I
I'm
love that
saying is
ripple
if
effect.
Tyler needed 2 minutes in order to win at the end of the game, he didn't play well enough with the jury. That's what I thought. I just loved watching Tyler fail at the last moment. It was like my favorite thing of that season. It was amazing.
I was you know, it's funny that people were showing, I don't know if y'all saw the picture on Twitter with Tyler in bed with Caitlyn and him misting her to turn on Swaggy. And it was the same like body stance of Kyland and SB. Cause let's be clear. I mean, Kyland, when he has his, you know, you can see when the ADHD, he's trying to put the steps and then, you know, the marathon meetings. But when he's like succinct and knows exactly what he wants and he's not trying to skirt around, he doesn't have that problem. And then he gets in the you know, talking to her and that misting was 5 hours. That beginning of Sarah's HOH, we were, you know, Sarah Beth's HOH, we were like, oh my God, like she's really going to do something that's not him. She's going to stand up and do, and then all of a sudden I hear about the 5 hours and I'm like, oh my God, he pushed her. Like, he got her. And the same thing with Tiffany and Claire, because Claire knows Xavier needs to be that, but she's like, I want to protect Tiffany. I need to protect my HOH. So it's, but I will say Kyland, he's a snake. I've said he was a snake. At the very beginning, I love him. He's a nice guy, but he's out to win $750,000. And this whole like, you know, oh, I've got Sarah Beth and I'm going to protect her. And now I'm going to sneak this little message to DX so I can seem like, you know, I'm his buddy. Plus he got the sympathy vote for him, which was prearranged. Kyland now, even Xavier, like I said, they were planting seeds today when, you know, prior to the, you know, their beach time or they're, you know, out at the pool. And then, you know, Tiffany has her House of Hair strategy, which is great, but the House of Hair doesn't work on a bald guy, you know, like two bald guys. And so it's always the House of Hair with the women because Christian's gone. And so like, I feel she's planting these seeds, but I don't know how far they're going to go to create the civil war between Kai and Xavier.
A question that Tyler and I were throwing around is, you know, can Kyland win at this point? Is there a path for Kyland to win? And I'm curious, Adrian, do you have thoughts on that?
Well, first off, I just want to rewind on what Heather said about like Tyler trying to explain his game at the finale. Big Brother needs to like stop giving time limits for final speeches. Like, you got 1 minute to explain your game. Go fast. What? The point of the finale is to explain your game in order to win the money. Why are you giving them like a legit seconds to explain their game? I'm just, that's the only rant. That's the only rant I have. So
well, they really need to bring back the live jury segments, not the pre-recorded, where the jury was able to ask almost like Survivor, where it's like, okay, let me ask a question. Let me ask a question. We need a 2-hour finale, but you know, Big Brother likes to, you know, kill us with their predictability. So I don't know when that's going to happen.
Yeah. For Kyland's game, I don't. Yeah. For Kyland's game, kind of like you would win or not. I think it all comes down to what Brittany's vote for in the jury for him. I don't know if she still feels bitter about what happened 2 weeks ago in Kyland's HOH. That one vote could be the difference of him winning and losing $750,000. So that's how I feel about like.
So you think it comes down to Brittany. Matt, what do you think?
Oh, I definitely think Kyland has a path to victory.
Yeah,
I honestly do, because I think this is the season where a snake could win. If he can get to the end as the snake and not as the rat, to borrow from season 1 of Survivor, because the snake might bite and the snake might win.
Right.
Because he's playing a game where, yeah, he's doing a lot of little manipulations here and there, especially exposing stuff in the... People put up people multiple times, and sometimes we'll still get the vote in the end. And Brittany's Brittany, so I don't know if she's holding that against him, especially since she's juror number 1. She will have a lot of time to, like, chill. But I think his path to the end is good, especially if he's keeping people like Azah and Derek F, who have no chance really at potentially pulling off the victory unless they're against each other.
Yeah.
Which I don't see a path to that happening.
If they were talking about this earlier, actually, Derek Frazier, but he was actually like counting through, and I was like, oh, this is good information for once. I call him Derek Flop sometimes too. It's not always David, but the jury, the jury best case scenario, if there's 2 cookout at the end, the jury is 5 non-cookout and 4 cookout. So you think about those 5 being Claire hates Kyland, Brittany put her up twice. If you think Azah, David are going to get there, sorry, Flop. If they're going to, be 2 of the 4, and then you've got Alyssa, she doesn't really have a relationship with Kyland. I mean, I think doesn't respect him, thinks he's hid behind Sarah Beth. They're all getting real creeped out. I mean, he is in love with her. He can't keep his hands off of her. It's making it's very icky. For the women that are in the house, the women are outnumbering the men, right? They're 6-3 right now. And they're just like, ugh, Kyland, he's icky. Yeah. So I don't think the fact that the majority in the jury are going to be non-cookout, and the ones that get there may not be able to sway those votes of their icky feelings about Kyland.
I mean,
Brandon, what do you... Go ahead,
can I just throw in a quick switch response, Heather? Is if, he changes his attitude after Sarah Beth leaves, I think he might win over someone like a Claire or like an Alyssa. If he can change
I don't think Claire or Alyssa will get there.
Well, no,
they'll
make the jury. I'm saying like for a jury vote. If he changes his attitude and stops being the creep, he could win those votes over like a Derek F or potentially an Azah. Because I think those are his 2 best options to get a win.
I want to hear your thoughts on this, Brandon. Like, I personally think that, like, if Kyland does get to the end, I agree with you guys that, like, he needs to own his shit. My concern is, like, I feel like Kyland's the type of person to be like, listen, I'm all about, like, peace and harmony, and, like, we did this together. Like, just trying to, like, smooth it over instead of being like, I was the snake in the cookout. Brandon, do you feel like, do you feel like he can get to the end, but do you think that he would own his shit, or do you think he would try to like kind of ride the middle and lose votes that way?
It's possible for Kyland to get to the end, and like everyone's been saying, like he needs to like tell like what he's been doing, like this kind of strategy he's been doing, because like with this whole snake of course mentality, like he's not gonna like expose it until like the quote unquote right time, because like we're at a point where like we're getting to like that close to where we need to make sure that like I keep like thinking about this in like past seasons, just because like I know this is like very different. Like what I think, oh my god, I can't believe I'm saying this, but in BB18, when of course Nicole F was playing the snake game as well, and I hate to mention that as well, and I'm just like,
I wasn't a snake. It's not accurate. I played a really great, straightforward game, and it was perfect.
And by straightforward, she means a house of lies.
Yeah, so like
that house might have been built on lies, but okay, sorry, Brandon, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's okay. Like again, the thing is, like we're at a point in the game where we need to make sure. I can't.
Classic.
Okay, my point stands. Okay, my point stands. We're at the point of the game where, of course, we think like everyone that's left in the game needs to make sure that where their loyalties lie right now. And I talked about this with Allison when I was just with her. Like the fact that they are okay. I'm losing my train of thought after all that.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay, but yeah, I talked about this with Allison, but like when we get to this point, we people need to know where their loyalties lie, and of course, with narrowing down to how many house guests we have left, they need to make sure of course with jury management, but also with in-house management too, like making sure who to keep inside the game to make sure to either make sure that's best for their own game, but also making sure it's best for, well, in a sense, everyone else's game to their interest.
I still think Kyland's going to be the first to go out of the group because there's so many seeds planted, and still at that very first HOH that he was supposed to throw, it was so obvious. And then when he throws the OTEV to Alyssa, he did so many things that were rogue that he can say all he wants in the DR that he's going for the cookout, but Kyland's out for Kyland. And I think they see that. And, there's this thing of goodbye messages are important, but the other thing is people remember how you treat them. Yeah. And Azah is still pissed that Kyland, that was her comp because she's a musical person. She is still pissed that she didn't win that HOH because that was hers to win. And now, the fact, I heard on another pod that when Xavier played the smoothing it over and got Tiffany and Azah, and they said that was a mistake for Xavier because they should have been at odds. I absolutely agree because now Tiffany and Azah are back to cutting up, and she's pulling Azah away from Xavier. And so I really think those three cookout women can be united, but they have to realize that these comps are going to be physical. They are not going to be all mental. And Xavier, I don't think has the mental acuity that the women do, but he can beat their ass in a physical competition. I really do.
So actually, one question.
Unless that mental comp win was a fluke.
That's true. Well, here's the thing. We can't forget that Xavier is also a lawyer, and he's obviously, I think he does have the mental strength in order to win these competitions. But I also think that we have some really smart and formidable women that he'll go against. So I definitely think it's going to be interesting. I will be dipping out in just about 5 to 6 minutes at this point. Just wanted to let you all know that. But before I get to that point, I have one question that's centered about Claire. Or even Alyssa, but I think that Claire is more likely to get this at this point, which is why I'm going to say Claire. At what point does someone go, oh, wait, Hannah's person went, and then so-and-so's person went, and now it's so-and-so? At what point does she start figuring out that the duos are being targeted, and it is very clear that she is a duo with Tiffany, and even if she doesn't make sense of the cookout, but at some point, she has to be able to figure out that there's duos that are being targeted in a specific way. Do you guys agree with that?
Okay, so I was thinking about this earlier. I think at this point right now, she's worried about herself at the moment, where she's not worried about the duos at this point in time. I can see where, when, of course, I think when Tiffany and Claire gets nominated on the block, I think that's when she finally notices, will finally notice. But because she's so worried about her individual game, which is very good right now at this point of the game as well, I don't think it's too much as an issue, I guess, with the whole pairs thing. Again, Alyssa already lost her. I lost my train of thought with that, but Alyssa technically lost her main pair with Christian, obviously.
Right.
But of course, now clinging on to Xavier now, but who knows how long that's going to last? Because I'm pretty sure Alyssa's going to be next week. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Adrian, what do you think?
Okay, so for me, so because Claire won the Coin of Destiny, she's not eligible to compete in HOH next year, right?
Correct.
Right.
Correct. Yeah.
Even though Jeff
Yeah.
was able to participate in the coup d'état,
That's what I was.
they've made it to where they've made it to where Claire cannot compete.
Production told Claire
Yeah, so
that she has to throw the HOH. So that,
And if she wins by accident, then she's going to be exposed as the invisible HOH, and the second place person becomes the HOH.
I'm
So
gonna
I
have
feel
to
like
bounce. This little guy needs all of my attention. This is
love it.
Asher, my puppy.
Mine is scratching at the door down here. I'm gonna pop out and get her real quick.
Yeah.
So-
Go ahead, Adrian. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. So
I think for me the best
later.
Bye, Matt.
I think the best case scenario in order for like Tiffany and Hannah's game to go far is Tiffany wins the next HOH again, takes out Alyssa, and then hopefully at Final 7, Claire wins the next HOH to take out one of the guys from the cookout, which foils the whole cookout plan. And then when Triple hits, hopefully if Tiffany or Hannah wins, they can take out Kyland, and then boom, Tiffany and Hannah could win this game. I feel like that's for me the best case scenario, not only for Claire, but also for Tiffany and Hannah to like win. So that's like from my train of thought I was going right now.
I think Claire has no chance. Like it's like I would be willing to bet
Dead in the water.
my whole life savings that Claire's not winning this game, Alyssa's not winning this game, Sarah Beth is certainly not winning this game, even if she does stay and get to the end. It's over for anybody that's not in the cookout, and that's what is so impressive about this alliance structure. I've said it like over and over on this show. Like this is like an alliance structure that we've never seen before. I feel like it'll be a long time before we see another alliance structure like this, and that is what is so impressive and so monumental about the cookout in Big Brother history. So we're going to. Sorry, go ahead, Heather.
Well, I want to add one thing on that. I mean, I thought the Civil War would have already happened because I figured. I mean, even the diary rooms where Tiffany, which they finally showed an HOH reveal, and I'm like, yay! Is this the beginning of the Winners Edit? But when she's saying I'm fighting for my son, you saw the pictures of her son and all of that. I want her to win so bad, but the patriarchy is so thick within this cookout, and these women are sacrificing their game for the cause. And I'm like, at what point does this turn? Because if they lose another number, an Alyssa, Claire, then now they're going to be their backs against the wall, and it's like seeing the. I keep thinking slaughterhouse. You leading the lambs to slaughter. We know where this is going. We know where this is going. And if I think they're too worried about the cause and having like the backlash of turning on the cause, but it's like you got to do it. I mean, if you got a chance to win, I just really feel that. Now, I will say one other thing. I saw some stats of Tiffany. She's the oldest woman to win head of household since Rennie.
Wow.
Okay. And the last Black woman to win head of household was Kalia. You mentioned Kalia earlier.
No, Bailey.
Oh,
No,
I'm sorry.
Oh, right.
It was Bailey. I think Kalia was the second oldest though, and then Tiffany. So she was the last, the oldest female, woman of color. And then, the other than Rennie, being the oldest woman. So, there's a lot of history to be made beyond that, just being a woman and a woman of color. But I really feel like they're sacrificing their game for the cause. And it breaks my heart because I think you got to jury, you've got you did what you made.
There's
the history.
no way a non-cookout member doesn't win at this point. So I agree with you. I definitely think that it's important for the women to be bonding together to and use their pawns, use Claire, and get one of the guys out this week. I agree with you that I think Xavier has to go this week. And if they can get Xavier out, the game is blown open in terms of what could happen. They don't need Alyssa to do it.
No, they don't. They need 3 and then Claire to break it. So they could have, the 3 cookout women, and then they could use Claire to break the tie because she absolutely wants X gone.
Yeah.
So I just, yeah.
I
and
definitely
the
agree.
one thing that they didn't show, and hopefully they show the episode coming up, was the cookout finally having their first meeting that was, 92 seconds long or whatever it was. Like, that was landmark. It was like, yay, okay, we're committed on day 52.
It has to be on Wednesday.
To mention
it
that.
has to be on Wednesday.
I hope it is too. But thank you all so much for joining us. I know that this is going to continue on with Tyler and the rest of you, but I need to dip out. I have another podcast I now have to go to record.
She is a booked woman. I love it.
This is going to be my third podcast of the day that I'll be doing.
Damn.
So I am so excited that we had the opportunity to chat some Big Brother with you all, and I cannot wait to come back and watch the last 10 minutes or so of whatever you're able to put together. But thank you all so much, and I will see you all on Thursday.
Here you go.
Bye.
All right,
Thanks, Beth.
I'll see you on Thursday.
Bye.
Bye, Beth.
All right, so I have one final closing question for each of you. Okay, I want you guys to tell me who you think will be the first person to go in the cookout and who you think the final two from the cookout will be. Okay, so think about that, stew on it for a second. I'll go first. So my official prediction, and I'll reference that tweet again. So I think that Tiffany will be the first person taken out of the cookout, unfortunately. And I think that the final two is going to be Hannah and Xavier. And I think Xavier is going to get every vote except for Derek X and Tiffany.
Wow, you're wanting a final vote too. Okay, let me think here.
That's how locked in I think this season is. But it's still a very exciting ride, which is the perfect harmony of predictability in terms of podcasting, but also I'm still all in and still very interested in how this is all going to shake out.
Well, the one thing I'll mention, the September 16th, which they're talking about the fake, or the triple or the fake double in the battle back. The schedule for the 22nd says TBA. So I don't know if there's even a Big Brother episode there or if it's going to be the continuation, but we're going to get screwed no matter what on seeing whatever that final 7 to final 5, which is, really upsetting because the cookout deserves to see the week of them turning on each other.
I think Tiffany even said on the feeds, I can't wait for it to get to us 6 so that we can just enjoy the house together for a week.
Yeah.
That's not even going to happen, Tiffany. Sorry.
But so September 16th, correct?
Yes.
Well, on the TV guide, what time did it say for the TBA?
8 to 10 or something.
Yeah.
8 to 10.
So the only time they've had another 2-hour episode is the triple eviction.
Okay, all right. That's what's the, I guess, quote unquote, slated schedule with this rumored triple eviction, which I'm worried about because I don't want that to happen.
Yeah.
Okay, but in regards to the question, in a realistic timeline, I want Derek F to be the first to leave from the cookout, but that's not going to happen. It's probably going to be either Tiffany or Kyland for first to go, and then final two. In a realistic world would be Tiffany and Hannah, but if we're talking about quote unquote reality, it's probably going to be Xavier and maybe Hannah as well. Again, it's gonna be up in the air.
Adrian.
He's
frozen. He's thinking.
Or frozen.
Oh my gosh. For me, I said this like a few minutes ago about the logic of double or triple eviction. HOHs are usually mental. I really want to see Tiffany and Hannah in the final two so bad. I almost agree with you, Tyler. But my gut is saying I think Kyland's going to be the first boo because I don't know. I feel like Tiffany will be a little bit pushed up a position over Kyland. I have a question. Do you think Kyland will take a shot at X because of what Sarah Beth said of Xavier's winning this game?
I feel like they realize realize that they need each other. Like once the cookout like has to turn on each other. Like I feel like they're like the meme of like the Spider-Mans like pointing at each other. Like they need each other to like win these comps and keep each other safe. Kind of like Dimitri's and Kevin from Big Brother Canada 5. Like that's kind of what I'm comparing it to.
Disagree on that because the seeds that are being planted today, I'm not sure how much you've seen today.
No, tell me.
That the seeds being planted today are Kyland can't be trusted. Look what he did by winning that HOH he wasn't supposed to. Xavier, Derek Flop, and Azah are all talking about, Kyland is, he's a snake, he's sneaky, he's, and plus, like I said, Azah's never forgotten that, she should have won that HOH, and that probably was her one chance to be HOH. So I think Kyland's going to be first to go.
Okay, continue on with my predictions. I still think Kyland's going to be the first boo. And for final two, so I want Tiffany and Hannah, but I feel like it's either going to be Xavier or Hannah or Xavier or Azah because, how big of a go are either Big D and Azah are? I don't know.
I think they're looking pretty goat. Like if either of them, can you imagine either of them in the final two trying to plead their case? Like Derek F is like everybody like talks about how delusional
I would
he
vote
is,
for
and I feel
Azah.
like Azah.
I would vote for
Azah's
Azah.
just gonna be like she's just gonna be like, I don't care, whatever. Like she's just so disinterested in playing any Big Brother. It's crazy to me. I really feel she like does not like her Big Brother experience.
I feel like for me in that situation, I think Azah would win because she has more of the social relationships with like Derek X, Brittany, Sarah Beth, Alyssa. So I feel like she would win. This just popped to me. Can you imagine a final two with Xavier and Tiffany? That would be a bloodbath. That would be a bloodbath.
That's
my prediction. That's my prediction. I haven't got to me yet.
Heather, go ahead.
I'm manifesting it because I think that Kyland is going to be first to go. I think Xavier Flop is going to be because he's too obsessed with him, but even now they're kind of bickering and he's over him. Like he's and Azah's like, he's annoying and originally the speech difficulties was like, okay, but now after 55 days, they can't handle it. I think they're going to go insane if they don't get rid of him. So I think it's going to be Kyland first to go. I think that Flop and Azah are going to be in there. And I think we're going to get down to the final three with Xavier, Hannah, and Tiffany. I think Hannah's going to win the final three. Nope. I think it's going to be Tiffany's going to win the final three. Now I'm going back and forth.
Part one's usually physical. Part two is like mental / physical. And part three is like more like mental.
Random.
Yeah. So, I think that I for some reason I just have a feeling like Xavier's not going to he's not going to make it to the part three of the final HOH. And I'm hoping that it's going to be a Tiffany and Hannah final too. Even despite all this, I really believe that karma has to come back around, that these women are sacrificing their game for these dudes in the the cookout patriarchy, that something has to come back around. And Xavier, they're going to take the hit on him at the final three. And it's going to be Tiffany and Hannah in the final two.
That is what we deserve. After the monstrosity that was Big Brother 22 last year.
Yes.
We could only hope that, Heather, that is very wishful thinking, but I want to live in that reality, so I'm all for that, so that makes me happy. Okay, so we're going to wrap up. Any closing thoughts about the season as a whole, or like where the game's headed? Brandon, go ahead.
Yeah, again, the next coming weeks, it's going to be crucial. We keep saying that, like, of course, beginning of jury was considered a turning point, but I feel like we're going to be at a real turning point with this coming HOH this week. So we'll see how things go. And As I already manifested saying that this is already the best season, let's hope that stays that way.
Yeah. Adrian, do you have any last thoughts about the
yeah, it's been such a great season so far for me. Like, I just want to say this right now. Whether she wins or lose, Tiffany Mitchell is honestly one of the greatest players to ever play this game, in my opinion. Like, future seasons to come, any women or like men that like say who their favorite player was, I think they're going to say Tiffany Mitchell. That's what I'm going to say. Tiffany Mitchell is a queen. Tiffany and Hannah better be final two. They better survive that hopeful triple eviction. I'm praying right now. I wouldn't be mad if any other cookout members win except for Derek F. So I'm like fine any other cookout member, including Xavier, winning. So yeah, this season's been like amazing still for me.
Yep. And Heather, what are your last thoughts before we hop off?
I would be happy with an Xavier win because he's playing a great game. Totally. But my heart is like, I want a woman of color. I want a woman final two. I keep going back to who they said were their favorite players. You know, Tiffany, we know, is a huge Dan Giesling fan, but Janelle was also, she listed as a favorite. Janelle gave her a shout out, so I know that Tiffany's going to have a meltdown when she gets back on her Twitter that they were, giving her tags. And then Azah listed June Song, and Chaddha listed Brittany Haynes. Well, the things that those three women have in common were cutthroat when they needed to be. So they're using kind of their charm, and they're pacifying Kyland. You notice tonight how Tiffany tried to make Kyland be like, yeah, no, it needs to be us on the block. So they're leading them, they're manipulating them very well. But they need to strike when they need to. The only other thing that I wanted to add, and I this keeps coming back to, the 17th member of this Houseguest is the chessboard. Adding the chessboard this season, it has become like the tool of like, this is how we do this, this is how we do this. And I keep saying the chessboard even being used. Now it's being used with Azah, and it's being used with other people. And I love it because it really has them, think things through. And if, Derek Flop goes to jury, and if Azah goes to jury, I really think that they are going to, and there was talk of that on the feeds today. Chaddha was discussing, the order and that those people going to jury with giving the full picture of the cookout and really being able to give the underlying and not. So I really don't think we're going to have a bitter jury. I really don't. I think when it comes down to it, it's going to be, hey, we were all for the cause. We're sorry that, but this is an iconic season, just like Christian's been saying, that he had to, they never had a chance because their alliance was so great. But I think that, the cause is still going to be there, and hopefully it'll be a woman of color to win. Yes.
I agree with all. Looks like we got Adrian back here. So
oh my gosh.
So thank you guys all for tuning in. This is I know it's a little different format than we usually do at My Weekly Meltdown, but I really enjoyed getting to hear of course Brandon has joined us before, but Heather and Adrian, you guys are always tweeting at us, always in the chat. And Brandon is a patron also, so I just want to say thank you to the three of you plus Matt Henning as well for taking the time to kind of do this almost like a roundtable check-in type of thing. I'm excited to see who wins HOH. This is my closing thought. So I agree that Tiffany is going to be considered one of the greats of Big Brother, but I think for separate reasons. We all know that she is capable of being this bomb ass Dan Giesling level player, strategist, social player. She has it all. And she was the one that put the cookout together, right? But she actively had the foresight to know and say week one that this is probably going to be the detriment of my game. Other people in the cookout have not, especially Azah and Derek F, have not really like had that conclusion. Even now, like now that we're like in like mid jury phase, they're still not thinking about like who's gonna win out of the cookout. And Tiffany saw that the first week that like it's probably not going to be me, but I'm going to do it anyway because the cause is more important than me winning this game. And if I can do both, if I can like stick to the cause and win this game, like it's going to be monumental, and I'll see if I can do it, but I'm fine either way. And I feel like we've never seen a Big Brother great play not only for strategy but for a cause and try to like balance both of those things and see where the rubber hits the road in terms of like when those two things are going to start colliding and what they do with it. So I think like Tiffany being able to compete in HOH next week is a really good thing. I'm really curious if she's going to nominate Claire when it's only like Alyssa and Claire left out of the non-cookout members. Like, how does she maneuver that situation? Or if she just puts up Alyssa and Xavier together and hope that the veto doesn't get used. But I like, to me, like the winners this season are between Kyland, Xavier, and Tiffany. Sadly, I don't think Hannah is going to win because I feel like no matter who she sits next to, whether it's Xavier, whether it's Kyland, whether it's Tiffany, I feel like the votes are going to go to the other person.
And Hannah said like, and Hannah even.
Oh, sorry. But I just want to finish my thought. Like no matter who it is out of those three, I'm happy. And like what a season this has been, especially compared to last year. And I said like BB Can 9, like the Big Brother 23 has a lot to live up to with like how amazing that season went. And to me, it has lived up to it. And I'm happy. I feel like I haven't smiled this much talking about Big Brother US in a long ass time.
Same.
So, well, it's pointed out that, we had the BB Can 9 to Sean, but Australia, I don't know if y'all watch Australia, but Australia had a black man win. The circle was a black woman.
Yes.
And so like if we could go 4 for 4, that would be phenomenal. And I just want to say Tiffany doing her noms in the HOH robe. Iconic.
Yes.
Iconic. I can't recall that for many years because she's like, I'm a boss. I called her a mob boss pretty early on. Like she made a hit and she went through and she made a hit. But let me tell you, I'm sorry her HOH was cut to 24 hours, but it was worth giving up that bedroom in order to play an HOH this week. That's for sure.
All right. Well, where can we find you guys on social media? I know that it's in your like little title thing, but for our podcast listeners, Brandon, where can we find you on social media?
So you can find me at Monster Cat Woo. I'm cat spelled with a K. And I'm on Twitter, Twitch, where I'm mostly on. And on my Twitch, I usually play a variety of games, mostly Pokemon, but I also do a variety of story-driven games, Dead by Daylight, a couple RPGs, just because, again, we've been seeing a lot of good games lately. And, of course, when it comes to video games, like, especially for the past year for me, it's been what I've been passing, like, it's been my, like, literal pastime, and streaming has been the crux of everything. And also, of course, my usual rants on Twitter of a lot of Big Brother stuff, Stan Twitter stuff, unfortunately.
I love how passionate you are about Stan Twitter. It's so funny.
Yes.
Adrian, where can we find you on social media?
So you can find me on Twitter at AdrianRomesell2. You can also find me on Instagram at panic_at-the-bookstore02. And so just excited to see where the season goes. Hopefully, I'm also a Survivor fan, so hopefully the cast of Survivor Season 41 comes out this week, which I'm very excited about this cast. So, so find me on Twitter or Instagram. And
yeah, there you go. And Heather, where can we find you on social media?
So I'm Heather Rogers when I'm in the chat. That's my real name, but my handle's Heather B Social, BE, and then social on Instagram and Twitter. I'm not on Facebook hardly at all anymore, but I'm on there. Yeah, that's where you can find me. And sometimes I get in a little bit of trouble. I've been known to get blocked. Last year, I got my first alumni blocks. I'm like, Andy Heron, woo!
Jeff, Big Jeff has me blocked on Twitter, so you're in good company there. Love it. All right, well, everybody, we'll be back this Thursday to talk about Sarah Beth's inevitable eviction. We'll be talking about who the new HOH is, if it's not Endurance, which I don't think it is, since they told Claire that there's going to be a clear first and second place finisher. So that tells me that it's not going to be a slip and slide or whatever. So we'll see how that goes. But thank you guys for tuning in. And I'm going to hit end broadcast, and then we can chat behind offline or whatever. Offline, okay. We're still online. But all right, cool. Everybody have a good rest of your night. We'll see you guys on Thursday. Take care. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.